Good morning. Welcome to Friday's edition of Everything Yesterday This Morning. Got a lot to cover. Gonna try to stay under 10 minutes. It's not gonna happen, but I'm gonna still try. Okay, so there's a weird trend going around. It's not walking on milk crates or eating Tide Pods. It's food processing plants catching on fire. In the last few weeks, there have been more than a dozen facilities that have caught fire and been destroyed. This has gone viral on social media. And while some facilities have been able to bounce back, others are trying to rebuild and resume distributing goods and even having to lay off employees. Last night, a plane crashed into a General Mills facility. On April 14th, a plane crashed into the East Idaho Gem State Processing Plant located in Hayburn. Gem Processing oversees 18,000 acres of Idaho potatoes. The pilot was the only fatality and was traveling from the Salt Lake City International Airport when it crashed into the building. Azure Standard is the largest organic food distributor, and on April 19th, the company released a statement that its headquarters were destroyed by an overnight fire. According to the release posted on Twitter, the cause of the fire is unknown, and there weren't any injuries or fatalities. The release said, while the headquarter facility is a total loss and a few product lines will be affected for the short term, other Azure Standard facilities are operating as close to normal as possible. On April 12th, Taylor Farms Processing Facility in Salinas, California also experienced an overnight fire that prompted evacuations after concerns were raised about the on-site ammonia storage exploding. There were 35,000 gallons of ammonia stored at the facility. Nearly 85 to 90% of the building was completely lost to the fire. The cause of the fire is still under investigation. Taylor Farms is the main producer of fruits and vegetable products. Also last month, a Rio Fresh onion packaging facility was destroyed in South Texas. A Nestle food plant in Jonesboro, Arkansas, that handles a lot of processed foods like Hot Pockets, Stouffer's, that was burned down. On February 22nd, several employees were sent to the hospital from Oregon Shearer's Food, which is a potato chip processing plant, and it was burned down due to an exploding boiler. And it was their only West Coast facility. It was one of the largest employers in the area and employed about 400 people. In a time where we're already having a global potato shortage, two major potato processing plants, one in Warden, Washington, and the other in Belfast, Maine, burned down. A huge Walmart distribution center caught fire here in Indiana in March, and that remains under investigation. In North Carolina on February 1st, evacuations ensued after a fertilizer plant caught on fire. Winston Weaver Company said that fire started overnight. A fire chief called it relatively static, but evacuations remained in place due to 600 tons of ammonium nitrate being stored on the premises. There weren't any injuries or fatalities. Perhaps none of this is connected. Industrial accidents happen on a regular basis. However, the speed and frequency with which it's happening during the time frame that it's happening makes me put my tinfoil hat on very quickly. Okay. The Russian military said it successfully performed the first test of a new intercontinental ballistic missile, a weapon that Putin said would make the West, quote, think twice before harboring any aggressive intentions towards Russia. The test launch of the Sarmat missile comes amid soaring tensions between Moscow and the West over the Russian military action in Ukraine and underlines the Kremlin's emphasis on the country's nuclear forces. Putin claimed that the new missile has no foreign analogs and is capable of penetrating any prospective missile defense. And this is a direct quote, this really unique weapon will strengthen the combat potential of our armed forces, reliably ensure Russia's security from external threats, and make those who, in the heat of frantic, aggressive rhetoric, try to threaten our country think twice, Putin said. He emphasized that the Sarmat is built exclusively from domestic components and circumvents the sanctions banning the exports of high-tech products to Russia. The Sarmat is the most powerful missile that has the highest range in the world, and it will significantly bolster the capability of the country's strategic nuclear forces. The Sarmat is capable of carrying hypersonic glide vehicles along with other types of warheads. The Russian military had previously said that Avangard hypersonic vehicle could be fitted to the new missile. Dmitry Rogozin, who is the head of the state Roscosmos agency that oversees the missile factory that's building the Sarmat, said Wednesday's test is a, quote, present to NATO, and that it's set to be commissioned by the military this fall after completion of its trials, calling it a superweapon. And yet, we just keep pushing buttons. A significant portion of this country has said it's okay with pursuing efforts in Ukraine at the expense of a nuclear war, and I think you're close to getting what you want. Joe Biden announced on Thursday another $800 million in aid to help Ukraine fight back against the Russian invasion, but he also warned Congress will need to approve additional assistance. We are now the United States of Ukraine, and your back-breaking efforts to keep a roof over your head and food on your table are not as important as the armaments that we need to send to Ukraine. You will work hard to pay for our war, and you will like it. The new military assistance package includes much-needed heavy artillery, 144,000 rounds of ammunition, and drones for Ukrainian forces that we just trained here in the United States to use in the escalating battle for the Donbas region of eastern Ukraine. It adds to the roughly $2.6 billion in military assistance that Biden has already approved for Ukraine. I hope that you guys made your investments in Lockheed Martin and Raytheon. He has indicated, hold on just a second. I'm so sorry. I cannot quit coughing. Okay, I just had to go eat Skittles to help my throat from being so dried out. Okay. He indicated that the $13.6 billion approved last month by Congress for military and humanitarian assistance was already almost exhausted. In addition to the U.S. contributions, Canada is sending heavy artillery. Dutch Prime Minister Rutte told Zelensky that the Netherlands will send more heavy weapons, including armored vehicles. A senior U.S. defense official said training of Ukrainian personnel on American 155mm howitzers has begun in a European country outside of Ukraine. How is this not a proxy world war against Russia? The world is arming, funding, and training people to prolong this war. At whose expense and to whose benefit? Questions that I feel are fair to ask. What is the return on investment? What do we gain? At what point do we weigh the cost-benefit analysis and admit that this decision is awful? And where is all the fucking money going? Elon Musk has confirmed in a new filing that he has secured funding for his bid to buy Twitter and take it private. The filing states that Musk has secured a total of $46.5 billion in funding. The breakdown is $21 billion of equity financing, $12.5 billion in margin loan from banks, including Morgan Stanley, and $13 billion from banks, also including Morgan Stanley, in the form of 3 different loans, a senior secured revolving security. This latest filing also confirms Musk's stake in the company remains at 9.1% and acknowledges Twitter's poison pill strategy. It maintains that Twitter has not responded to Musk's initial proposal, and so because of that, Musk's latest filing says he is now exploring whether to commence a tender offer to acquire all of the outstanding shares of common stock. So a tender offer is an invitation to current shareholders to sell their stock for a certain price at a certain time. In this case, Musk is considering extending such an invitation at a price of $54.20 per share, and at the time of this recording, Twitter was currently at $46.74 per share. This is really interesting because the board obviously is who voted to not allow him to purchase Twitter with his initial offer and introduce this poison pill strategy. I am so sorry, you guys. Allergies are just wild in the Ohio Valley. The Twitter board owns very little shares in the company, and when Jack Dorsey leaves, I mean, they'll own next to no part of the company. So I think giving the shareholders the opportunity to decide versus the board is an interesting move on Musk's part. So as always, just keep an eye on this. CNN is shutting down its CNN Plus streaming service less than a month after its launch in a spectacular failure. It had started on March 29th, shortly before CNN was taken over by new corporate parents. The new leaders of Warner Brothers Discovery quickly let it be known that they consider CNN Plus an ill conceived idea. The subscription based service will be shut down at the end of April. Executives said some CNN Plus programming and employees will be absorbed into the television network and website, but there will be layoffs. The head of CNN Plus, Andrew Morse, is leaving the company. CNN executive Chris Licht, I'm not sure, Licht, how you say his name, shocker, said consumers wanted simplicity and an all-in service rather than standalone offerings. Because of contracts with cable and satellite companies, CNN Plus could not stream the CNN television network. Which, I mean, I guess if you actually want to consume the propaganda and pay for it, you want to swallow all of the lies. There was $100 million in development costs and some 500 employees assigned to building out CNN Plus. Peretti told the employees they would have first dibs on some 100 jobs currently open at CNN and 6 months of severance for departing staffers. Because Discovery was not allowed to participate in meetings until the takeover was formally approved a few weeks ago, AT&T was allowed to go ahead and develop and start the service. The CNN Plus flagship show was arguably Chris Wallace's daily interview show, for which he left Fox News and as one of the Sunday hosts. Wallace did not immediately return a message seeking comment, according to this article. Leaked, whatever the fuck his name is, said in his memo that the incredibly difficult decision to shutter CNN Plus is the right one for the long-term success of CNN. Kind of feeling like they should have just left it up so then it would all collapse. On the television network, Licht is expected to increase CNN's emphasis on news coverage with less commentary. Quote, "We need to own the erosion of trust and build it back." You mean they're actually going to become a news organization and not a propaganda wing of the government? Psh, I'll believe it when I see it. That is Friday's edition of Everything Yesterday This Morning. Join me tonight for Liberty Happy Hour on Twitter Live. If you are one of my people, I look forward to seeing you there. Otherwise, for the rest of you, I will see you Monday of next week. You guys take care and have a great weekend. Mwah.